Chapter 1021. Yo, you two still dare to come back? Did you not find any spiritual jades and found a pile of stones to make up the numbers? Jia Huiyan immediately retorted sarcastically. Jia Muzin glanced at Jia Huiyan and did not argue with him. He directly handed the backpack to the tallying staff and then apologetically said to Jia Jinyan, "Grandpa, I'm sorry, we came back too late and made you wait for so long." "No problem, the time is just right, we can start counting now." Jia Jinyan waved his hand. The tallying staff carefully counted the number of spiritual jades in the backpack and looked at Jia Muzin with some surprise. He picked up a pen and filled in the form a few times, then reported, "Jia Muzin turned in 98 spiritual jades this time. Adding the 65 from before, there is a total of 163 spiritual jades." As expected. What? This is impossible. How can he have so many spiritual jades? You must have counted incorrectly. Jia Huiyan was about to ridicule a few more times, but the words got stuck in his throat. He was so surprised that he could not even close his mouth. He quickly ran over and snatched Jia Muzin's backpack from the tallying staff, intending to personally count it again. "Young Master Huiyan, I have already counted 3 times, there is no way I would have counted incorrectly. Furthermore, what you are doing is against the rules. Please bring the backpack over, I will start measuring the spiritual jades." The tallying staff was somewhat dissatisfied. He was Jia Jinyan's trusted aide and did not need to give Jia Huiyan any face, so his words were very impolite. "There are really 98? Jia Huiyan was very puzzled and muttered. He slowly took Jia Muzin's backpack and walked over. However, he quickly discovered something wrong when he opened the backpack zipper. "Ha ha ha. Jia Muzin, you are really good." Jia Huiyan quickly took out a spiritual jade from the backpack and raised it up with a laugh. "I was wondering how such a small backpack could hold so many spiritual jades. Turns out they are all defective goods. Look, this spiritual jade is only a little bigger than a ping-pong ball. You still have the nerve to turn in this kind of trash. I really have to give it to you." Jia Huiyan threw away Jia Muzin's backpack and ran over to his own backpack. He took out another spiritual jade and raised it in his hand. "Look at mine. This size, this appearance, and the light emitted by the spiritual jades. Every single one of them surpasses your trash spiritual jades. What was the use of numbers? Do you think we're comparing weight? What are you showing off for? It hasn't even been weighed yet, so how do you know that my spiritual jade isn't as heavy as yours? Hurry up and put it down. Don't waste everyone's time, we're all waiting to go home for dinner." Jia Muzin snatched his spiritual jade and put it back into his backpack. "Musen, Big Brother Huiyan's temper is just like that. Don't take it to heart." Jia Tiao patted Jia Muzin's shoulder. He also thought that Jia Muzin's spirit jade looked small and shriveled, and would definitely lose in weight. Therefore, he pretended to be kind and comforted Jia Muzin. "Yo, Xiaoqin, aren't you guys too useless?" After attacking Jia Muzin, Jia Huiyan turned his head to look at Xiaoqin. He did not let up and provoked him. "After wasting so much time, you only took out this kind of inferior product. You even said that you want me to admit defeat and eat spiritual jades. Your face is really big. Can't you speak properly? Why did he spray so much saliva? Did you know that it almost stuck to my face?" Xiaoqin glared at Jia Huiyan, walked to the table lazily, took out a few bottles and jars, placed them on the table, and sneered, "Look carefully, don't say that we didn't take care of you. These are all prepared for you. After weighing, remember to eat all of our spiritual jades." "Ha ha ha." Jia Huiyan glanced at the table and found that there were actually all kinds of sauces on the table. He almost burst out laughing. He looked at Xiaoqin with a gaze full of pity. He thought that Xiaoqin must have lost his mind. Even at this critical moment, Xiaoqin was still acting cool. "What are you laughing at? If it weren't for buying these sauces for you, Musen would have already come back and handed over the spiritual jades. This has nothing to do with you." Xiaoqin scoffed at Jia Huiyan's mockery. Jia Huiyan was too lazy to talk to the idiot in his eyes. He turned his head to the counter and said, "Hurry up and start. Weigh my spiritual jades first, I want them to be convinced of their defeat." The counter directly ignored the fight between these young masters. He took out a scale from under the table and put the spiritual jades of Jia Huiyan, Jia Tuyao, and Jia Muzan on it. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the final result. After repeatedly checking the spiritual jades, the counter recorded the weight of each spiritual jades, and finally handed the form to Jia Jinyan for him to announce. Jia Jinyan looked at the data, raised his head, and announced unhurriedly, "The weight of the spiritual jades mined this time has been calculated. They are Jia Renzhong spiritual jades total 2 caddies and 7 tails, Jia Huiyan spiritual jades total 96 caddies, Jia Tiao spiritual jades total 98 caddies, Jia Muzan spiritual jades total 125 caddies." There was no sound. The entrance of the mine was completely silent, as if it was a no-man's land. Apart from Shao Chen and Jia Muzan, everyone's expression froze. They had a look of disbelief on their faces. Some people subconsciously rubbed their ears, thinking that they had misheard. Shao Chen looked at Jia Renzhong with a slightly profound look. Just now, when the counter weighed the spiritual jades, he saw that Jia Renzhong had taken a total of 4 spiritual jades. Although it was not a lot, it meant that Jia Hongyong did not provide him with any spiritual jades. This made Shao Chen a little surprised. It seemed that this Jia Hongyong was a person with principles. Although he had actively helped Jia Muzan, he did not seek benefits for his nephew. Moreover, he did not mention anything about helping Jia Renzhong. This person could be used. Jia Jinyan paused for a moment, and then said, "I hereby announce that in the first round of the family competition, the collateral family's winner is Jia Renzhong, and the direct family's winner is Jia Muzan." Shao Chen glanced at Jia Renzhong again, and found that his expression was calm. He did not seem to be wild with joy because he had won with only 4 spiritual jades. Shao Chen couldn't help but look at Jia Renzhong in a higher light. It seemed that this guy's willpower was quite firm. He was indeed a good seedling. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. There must have been an error in the measurement. My spiritual jades are so big, how could they be lighter than those ping-pong balls? Jia Huiyan's body trembled, and he finally recovered. He was so angry that he roared loudly at the counter. At this time, the crowd also started to clamor, and one after another, they expressed their disbelief. Jia Kusi and Jia Sholei also echoed, and insisted that Jia Huiyan's spiritual jades should be the heaviest. Jia Renzhong still stood far away, and looked at the group of collateral family disciples with slight disdain. When Jia Huiyan heard that there were people supporting him, his courage grew, and he fiercely roared, "There must be a problem here, I want to weigh it again." Chapter 1022. Huiyan, shut up. Don't mess around. The counting clerk was so angry that his beard was twitching. When he was about to retort, he heard someone shouting from afar. Everyone turned around and saw 2 silhouettes rushing over from afar. Jia Yubian was in the front, and Jia Yuto was behind him. They had just finished dealing with their family affairs, so they immediately rushed over. Jia Yubian didn't expect to see his son arguing with the counting clerk as soon as he arrived. He was instantly scared out of his wits. All the counting clerks on the scene were his father's trusted subordinates. Normally, when he saw them, he had to give them some face and greet them. But this little bastard was actually angry at them. After Jia Yubian stopped Jia Huiyan, he strode to the entrance of the mine, grabbed the older counting clerk and said, "Uncle Gui, please don't be angry at this unfilial son. It's all my fault for not teaching him well. I hope you won't take it to heart." Humph. Uncle Gui snorted coldly, freed his hand from the grip, suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "Your son is quite capable. How could he suspect me? I've been following the old master for at least 40 to 50 years, but I've never been insulted like this. He's so arrogant. Uncle Gui, please calm down. I'll ask him to apologize to you right now." Jia Yubian turned around and looked at Jia Huiyan. His face instantly darkened, he kicked him heavily and yelled, you little bastard, what have I taught you? Hurry up and apologize to Uncle Gue. I didn't say anything wrong. Why should I apologize? It's obvious that he weighed it wrongly. Look at the spirit jades I got, each of them is several times bigger than Jia Muzin's. But he said that my spirit jades are only 96 kilograms, less than Jia Tuyao's, and nearly 30 kilograms less than Jia Muzin's. How is this possible? Jia Huiyan didn't know what was going on. He widely opened his eyes and protested loudly. Stop talking nonsense. A loss is a loss. Don't worry about Jia Muzin's spirit jades. Jia Yubian glanced at the spirit jades on the ground. Suddenly, he stopped scolding and walked over. He picked up the spirit jades that Jia Muzin brought back and carefully looked at them. Instantly, his face darkened and he asked, Muzin, who allowed you to use the spirit jades from the main mine to participate in the competition? This is clearly cheating. As the spirit jades in the main mining area were specially processed before being produced, not only were they carefully selected, but they had also removed impurities. Therefore, the quality was first class. Although they were only the size of ping-pong balls, they felt much heavier than ordinary spirit jades. Jia Yubian had been in charge of the heavenly jade mine for many years, so he could recognize them immediately. Jia Muzin's complexion was somewhat unsightly. Just now, when he went to look for Jia Hongyong to ask for spirit jades, Jia Hongyong had readily agreed and very generously gave him a large pile. Jia Muzin didn't pay too much attention to the size and quality of the spirit jades. He only wanted to win. At this time, he was feeling a little regretful. If he had known this would happen, he would have used some ordinary spiritual jades. Anyway, they were heavy enough, and he could have won. Jia Yubian wouldn't have seen through him. Turtle Whip, you said that this spiritual jade was taken from the main mine. Do you have any proof? Besides, what does this match have to do with you? The old patriarch has already announced Jia Muzin's victory, so why are you still saying such useless things? Shao Chen impatiently dismissed him. If you have nothing to do, don't keep messing around here. Go somewhere cool. Jia Yubian directly ignored Shao Chen and said to Jia Jinyan, Father, I suggest that we immediately find the acting manager of the main mine, Jia Hongyong. As long as we check the accounts of the recent spiritual jade mining, I believe that the truth will soon come to light. If Jia Muzin is indeed suspected of cheating, I suggest that this match be annulled and Jia Muzin's participation qualification be permanently revoked. There is no need for that. To Jia Yubian's surprise, Jia Jinyan directly rejected his proposal and said flatly, since I have already announced the result, then Jia Muzin is the winner of this match, and at the same time, he will get 1 point. Jia Yubian anxiously wanted to refute, but when the words were about to come out of his mouth, he was interrupted by Shao Chen. This fart, be careful, or else I will publicly expose how Mu Sen and I entered the inner martial arts world. Shao Chen threatened. Jia Yubian was stunned, only then did he remember that his son's spiritual jades were obtained by secretly holding a trial mission. If it was really investigated, Jia Huiyan would also not be able to escape the responsibility. Just as Jia Yubian was hesitating, Jia Jinyan waved his hand, stood up, and said to the direct descendants and collateral descendants, that's it, the next match is tomorrow at 8:00 in the morning, held inside the Jia family. You must be tired from the day, go back and rest early. After saying that, Jia Jinyan and the other counting staff left, directly ignoring Jia Yubian who wanted to say something but was hesitant. Jia Jinyan wasn't being biased. Before Jia Yubian had noticed the abnormality of the spirit jades, he had already discovered the source of Jia Muzin's spirit jades. However, in his opinion, the way of commanding his subordinates was equally important. Jia Muzin was able to successfully recruit Jia Hongyong as his subordinate without any foundation. He was able to make Jia Hongyong willingly take the risk to hand over the spirit jades that he had refined. Besides, Jia Jinyan could roughly guess where Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao got so many spirit jades from. Therefore, Jia Jinyan chose to turn a blind eye to it, and didn't intend to make a fuss about it. Otherwise, if he got to the bottom of the matter, no one would benefit from it. Jia Yubian hesitated for a long while, finally stamped his foot, gave up the protest, sighed, and turned around to take Jia Huiyan's spiritual jades. As soon as he took the spiritual jades, Jia Yubian was immediately stunned. He weighed the spiritual jades in his hand in confusion, then turned around and asked Jia Huiyan, "Huiyan, the number of spiritual jades doesn't seem right? Why does it seem to be less?" Jia Huiyan had failed in his protest, and was feeling dispirited. Hearing Ji Hao's question, he pointed his finger at Jia Tuyao and said, Those spiritual jades were taken away by him." "What?" Jia Yubian was startled. He abruptly turned around and reached his hand towards Jia Tuyao's spiritual jades. However, right when Jia Yubian's fingers touched the edge of the spiritual jades, another hand suddenly reached out and snatched the spiritual jades away. It was Jia Yudo, who had been standing aside and watching for quite a while. "What are you doing?" "Those are our spiritual jades." Jia Yubian glared at Jia Yuto and yelled. "Who can prove that they are yours? Where did you get them? Are your names on those spiritual jades?" Jia Yuto looked at Jia Yuto with a faint smile and threw out a series of questions. "You said they are yours? Fine, we'll go to the family leader to prove it. As long as you can tell us the source of these spiritual jades, and we can verify it, I'll immediately give these spiritual jades to you." You. Jia Yubian was so angry that his chest was heaving up and down, and his eyes were dazzled. This Jia Yuto had grasped his lifeline, and he was sure that Jia Yuto dared not to complain to the family leader. Chapter 1023. Tut, 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 dog bites dog, a mouthful of fur. Mu Sen, I finally understand why you ran away from home. Shao Chen sighed, in this kind of family, even brothers can fight each other shamelessly. It's so dirty. Who the hell are you calling shameless? Jia Huiyan, who was already irritated by Shao Chen, jumped up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, pointed at Shao Chen, and screamed. "Oh, if you didn't jump out, I would have forgotten. Jia Huiyan, now it's time to witness a miracle." Shao Chen clapped his hands, took Jia Muzin's bag of spiritual jades, put it in front of Jia Huiyan, pointed at the sauces on the table, and said with a smirk, "Come on, eat all these spiritual jades. Ketchup, curry sauce, you can choose any. Hey, don't leave so soon." Everyone here heard it. Are you going to go back on your words? Humph. Hearing this, Jia Huiyan immediately lost his confidence. He shrunk his head, ignored Jia Huiyan's attempt to stop him, turned around, and left in a huff. Jia Yubian had suffered a great loss at Jia Yudo's side, and his complexion didn't look too good. He ordered Jia Kushi and Jia Shoulai to carry the collected spirit jades into the carriage, then fiercely glared at Jia Muzin and Jia Tiao, got into the carriage and drove away. While the crowd was quarreling, Jia Renjong had quietly left the heavenly jade mine. Shao Chen wanted to talk to him, but by the time he thought about it, Jia Renjong had already disappeared. Mu Sen, Shao Chen, you did a good job. Congratulations, continue to work hard tomorrow. Jia Tiao's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. He patted Jia Muzin's shoulder, pretending to encourage him, and then hurriedly left with Jia Yuto and his men. Jia Muzin and Shao Chen looked at each other and smiled. They both saw that although Jia Tuyao was unwilling, he couldn't do anything to them. Since the family leader had spoken in front of everyone, Jia Tiao dared not to raise any objection. Although he didn't want Jia Muzin to win, he couldn't blatantly raise his objection, because what had happened to Jia Huiyan was still vivid in his mind. Therefore, he could only think of other ways in the following matches. The two of them leisurely returned to Jia Muzin's courtyard. After taking a bath, Shao Chen casually ate something to fill his stomach before he went to look for a few female cultivators for dual cultivation. Shao Chen described today's competition to them. When he talked about the highlights, the girls covered their mouths or giggled. After chatting, everyone immersed themselves in cultivation. Shao Chen still didn't have sex with them. He just simply cultivated. After all, he didn't know what was going to happen next, so he didn't want to waste too much energy. At 8:00 o'clock the next morning, all the participants of the second match gathered in the conference room, waiting for Jia Jinyan to announce the content of the match. Today's second trial is mainly to test everyone's adaptability. Seeing that all the participants had arrived, Jia Jinyan calmly introduced, "In this trial, you have to facilitate a cooperation project between our family and other martial arts sects within 1 day. Every contract is marked with the family's bottom line. If you choose to sign a contract below the bottom line to achieve your goal, then the contract will be invalid. Do you understand?" Today's competition was slightly more complicated than yesterday's. Everyone was silent for a while, and no one nodded. Jia Jinyan was not in a hurry, and quietly waited. "Grandpa, I have a question. If everyone spends the same amount of time and signs the contract below the bottom line, how will the winner be determined?" Jia Musen thought for a while, raised his hand and asked. "Whoever can get more benefits for the family under the same conditions will be the winner." Jia Jinyan seemed to have expected that someone would ask this question, so he unhurriedly explained, "The bottom line marked on the contract is divided into several levels. The one who gets the most benefits for the family will get 3 points, the one who gets the least benefits will get 2 points, the one who signs the contract below the bottom line will get 1 point, and the one who signs the contract below the bottom line will not be allowed to sign the contract, and will directly fail." Jia Musen nodded. It seemed that this competition didn't have much to do with time. As long as the family could get the most benefits within 1 day, it would be fine. "Is there anyone else who has a question?" Jia Jinyan asked again. Seeing that no one had any objection, he opened his mouth and said, "Well, next, let's draw lots. First, we'll draw the negotiation partners, then we'll draw the cooperation projects. These 2 projects are random, and you'll draw them according to seniority." 2 simple wooden boxes were placed on the conference table, each containing a few letters. From the appearance, there was no difference at all. Jia Huyan took the lead and walked over. After studying for a while, he found that there was no shortcut, so he hesitated and picked a letter from each of the 2 wooden boxes. Then, he returned to his seat, opened it, and read it. Next, it was Jia Tuyao and Jia Musen's turn. After they had finished drawing lots and returned to their seats, it was the turn of the collateral descendants. When the last Jiaranzhong got the letter, he immediately put away the wooden boxes containing the letters and took them away. It was not that there were many descendants of the Jia family, but for the sake of fairness, Jia Jinyan deliberately put more letters in order to avoid the advantages and disadvantages of choosing first and last. After drawing a letter, everyone opened it and read it. However, except for Jia Tuyao and Jiaranzhong, the others didn't look very good. The reason was very simple. The Jia family relied on the Heaven Jade Mine, and usually, its main function in the martial arts world was to supply spirit jades in exchange for resources. Therefore, the cooperation content was nothing more than exchanging spirit jades for natural treasures, cultivation manuals, weapons, spirit beasts, and so on. Regarding this kind of competition, Jia Tuyao was surely very confident. His father, Jia Yuto, was usually in charge of contacting other sects and families. Therefore, Jia Tuyao had a wide network of friends. Therefore, it was not a problem for him to form a cooperation within the shortest span of time. As far as Jia Tuyao was concerned, this competition was simply tailor-made for him. If he didn't win the first place, it would be absolutely intolerable. As for Jiaranzhong, there was a hint of joy on his face. The contract he had drawn was the simplest one among all the types. As long as he talked with the partners normally, he would almost certainly succeed. Therefore, he was naturally a little happy. Next, I'll give you some time to prepare. Familiarize yourself with the key points of cooperation and negotiation skills. Jia Jinyan took in everyone's expressions and calmly said a few words. I've already invited the people in charge of contacting the clans and sections 1 hour from now. All of you will gather in the reception hall on time. Glancing at the crowd, Jia Jinyan left the conference room with his subordinates and went to make preparations. Mu Sen, what's the content of your contract? Shaochen craned his neck to take a look, and found that it was written on the contract that they would exchange spirit jades for martial arts manuals. He patted Mu Sen's shoulder and said casually, this is quite simple. 100 spirit jades for 3 handwritten martial arts manuals, it can be negotiated in minutes. Don't worry, the first place is definitely yours. Chapter 1024. It's not as easy as you say, Jia Muzin shook his head helplessly. Looking at the contract in his hand, he said with a troubled expression, the Yu clan is not easy to talk to. I think it would be good enough if we could keep our bottom line and get a secret manual. As for the highest contract, I don't even dare to think about it. Jia Muzin was usually a man of few words, so he had no confidence in his negotiation skills at all. Moreover, he did not have as many connections as Jia Tiao did. At this moment, he was completely at a loss and did not know where to start. What are you afraid of? With me around, you can be at ease. At that time, not only will you sign the contract properly, I will also give you a lot of additional conditions. Xiao Chen's tone was as relaxed as if he was buying vegetables in a market. Yes, I believe you. Jia Muzin nodded. He trusted Xiao Chen very much. Since Xiao Chen had said so, there would definitely be no problem. Xiao Chen smiled, stretched his body and said, let's go. There is nothing to study about the contract. Bring me to the Jia mansion for a stroll. I haven't really strolled around since I came here. After we finish strolling around, we will go and kill the Yu clan's people. Jia Muzin agreed. He did not think too much and left the meeting room with Xiao Chen. When he reached the door, Xiao Chen unintentionally turned his head back and saw Jia Shou Luo and Jia Ruijing smiling evilly. They were chatting with Jia Renzhong with their arms around each other's shoulders. Jia Renzhong's face was red, as if he was answering Jia Shou Luo's question. Seeing this scene, although Xiao Chen was a little curious and surprised that these two fellows from different factions would join hands, he did not intend to use his divine sense to eavesdrop. He just kept an eye on them and walked out. Father, Jia Muzin and Xiao Chen seemed to be quite confident. Could it be that they have someone supporting them in secret? Seeing Jia Muzin and Xiao Chen leave indifferently, Jia Tuyao could not help but be a little puzzled and asked suspiciously. Tisk, with just these two bastards, who can support them? Jia Yudo snorted and snorted. Yesterday, he cheated and won the match by cheating. Today's match was a random draw. He didn't know who his partner was beforehand. Besides, even if he knew who his partner was, with me around, he still had no advantage at all. Alright, you don't have to worry so much. From his point of view, Xiao Chen and Jia Muzin simply didn't have any competitive edge. On the contrary, Jia Huiyan's threat was relatively greater. This was because Jia Yubian controlled the heavenly jade mine. Although he had lost some of his influence, his accumulated prestige still existed. He still had a lot of authority over his business partners. Jia Tiao responded with an "oh," then rubbed his nose. He didn't pay any more attention to Jia Muzin and the others, but focused his attention on the group of people surrounding Jia Renzhong. Jia Yudo pondered for a while, then abruptly said, Tiao, you wait here, I'll help you arrange things, so that the signing of the contract will be smoother. Jia Yudo thought for a while and still felt that he had to show up and communicate with those guests, so that they would do him a favor. On the one hand, his son could win the match with the highest contract, and on the other hand, he could indirectly make the guests give the other contestants a hard time. All right. Jia Tiao responded. Seeing Jia Yudo walk out of the door and walk towards the reception room, he turned around and saw Jia Ruijing walking towards him. He walked up to her and asked, how is it? Did you find out anything? Do you know which sect the others are going to talk with? Young Master Tuyao, I've just asked around. Jia Huiyan's people are pretty tight-lipped, so I haven't found out who they are going to talk with yet. However, I've secretly seen the contract in Jia Renzhong's hand. This kid is quite lucky, he actually got to exchange spirit jades for natural treasures, which is the easiest item. What a lucky kid, said Jia Ruijing with an envious look. Just now, he was sent by Jia Tuyao to inquire about the contents of the contracts of Jia Huiyan and the others. However, Jia Shoulei was obviously on guard against him, and also wanted to inquire about the items of the contracts of Jia Huiyan and the others. Both of them chatted back and forth for a while, but both of them found that they couldn't gain any advantage. Therefore, they unanimously decided to first target Jia Renzhong, who was alone, and then fight with their own strengths. After Jia Rijing and Jia Shoulei reached an agreement, they went to Jia Renzhong to inquire about the information. Jia Renzhong was usually a lone wolf, and lacked experience in communicating with others. Although Jia Renzhong and Jia Shoulei were vigilant against them, Jia Shoulei and Jia Shoulei still managed to get some information about Jia Renzhong and Jia Shoulei. Damn it, why does this kid always have this kind of luck? Jia Tiao murmured, took a few steps back and forth, then said to Ji Yunshu, in this case, you go find my father as soon as possible. He should be meeting with the leaders of the other sections. You tell him about Jia Renzhong's task, and ask him to deal with them. Let's deal with the partners of this kid first. He also knew that Jia Huiyan and the others were not that easy to fool, so he could only pick the weakest ones first. Alright, I'll go right now. Jia Rijing nodded, and couldn't wait to run to the reception room. Jia Tiao threw a glance at Jia Huiyan and the others, snorted coldly, put away his contracts, sat down on the other side, and closed his eyes to rest his mind. An hour later, all the contestants and helpers walked into the reception room on time. Jia Jinyan had been waiting here for quite a while. Seeing that everyone had arrived, his two trusted subordinates walked over and slowly closed the door of the reception room. In the spacious reception room, a few large tables had been placed on each table, and on each table was an eye-catching number plate. Sitting across each table was a man dressed in ancient clothes. Obviously, he was invited by Jia Jinyan to participate in the negotiation competition. In order not to disturb the others during the negotiation, all the tables had been separated by screens. Although it was a bit crowded, it was well hidden. Therefore, even if there were any small movements in private, or the final decision of which bottom line to use to sign the contract, no one would see it. However, Jia Yubian and Jia Yuto were not in the reception room. Both of them were elders of the family, one was in charge of the mine, and the other was familiar with the family's connections. In order to avoid arousing suspicion, they had to wait in another place. After all, it was their sons who were participating in the competition, and Jia Jinyan was supervising them on the spot. Therefore, they couldn't go too far, and could only wait outside for the final result. The competition officially starts now. Everyone, please sit at the corresponding table according to the number plate marked on the envelope you drew. At Jia Jinyan's command, all the contestants took their seats one after another. After exchanging a few words with the guests, both sides started to talk amiably. The person who was negotiating with Jia Muzan was a Yu clan member named Yu Lingxuan. He was about 50 or 60 years old, and his position was one of the Yu clan's chief stewards. Usually, he was mainly in charge of discussing matters of cooperation with other martial arts sections. Almost all of the Yu clan's resource allocation had to be approved by him. It could be said that he held great power, and his power was monstrous. Chapter 1025. Hello. Uncle Yu, I am Jia Muzan. Today I want to talk to you about the cooperation between our Jia clan and Yu clan. Jia Muzan walked to the table and bowed respectfully to Yu Lingxuan. This was the first time he was negotiating with someone, so he was subconsciously nervous. Shao Qin stood behind Jia Muzan, one step away from him. On one hand, he could observe Yu Lingxuan's expression from above, and on the other hand, he could secretly release his divine sense to eavesdrop on the other cubicles. Hee, hello Shao Sen. It's not the first time our two clans have cooperated, you don't have to be so nervous. Come, sit. Tell me what kind of cooperation you want to talk about this time. Yu Lingxuan smiled and waved his hand. I'm sorry, Uncle Yu, then I won't be polite, let's get straight to the point. Jia Muzan sat down and took a deep breath. He took out a contract from his bosom and placed it on the table. He tried his best to speak in a gentle tone. This time, our Jia clan wants to use 100 pieces of spiritual jades to exchange for the Yu clan's 3 handwritten martial arts manuals. The detailed contents and rules are all in the contract. Uncle Yu, please take a look. Okay, wait for me to wear my glasses and take a good look. Sigh, old people are really useless. If I don't wear a pair of reading glasses, I won't even be able to read. Xiao Sen, it's not that Uncle Yu is taking advantage of his age, but you have to take good care of your eyesight at your age. Otherwise, it will be troublesome if you become like me. As Yu Lingxuan nagged, he took out a pair of glasses and slowly put it on his nose. He picked up the contract on the table and squinted his eyes to read it carefully. Okay, take your time, there's no rush. Although Jia Muzin said that, he felt weird in his heart. His nearsightedness was caused by his genes. Otherwise, who would like to wear glasses for no reason? Moreover, wasn't this Yu Lingxuan in charge of the Yu clan's resource allocation and cooperation? He should be very familiar with this contract. Why did he have to read it page by page? Xiao Chen glanced at Yu Lingxuan with a disdainful sneer. He could tell with one look that Yu Lingxuan was wearing a pair of flat lenses which couldn't correct one's vision. At most, it could be used to block out sand or UV rays. This old thing was probably just trying to stall for time, putting on an act. It was just as Xiao Chen had predicted. Yu Lingxuan read the 3-page contract repeatedly for more than an hour, but he still had no intention of stopping. He continued to read item by item in a leisurely manner. When he reached the last item, he flipped to the first page and started reading again. Jia Muzin was a little anxious. He didn't know that there was a problem with Yu Lingxuan's glasses. He thought that Yu Lingxuan was really too meticulous and had to read every word and sentence carefully. He couldn't help but feel a little unhappy. The Jia family was one of the top 3 families in the martial arts world. Was it worth it to take advantage of him? Cough cough. Although he was unhappy, Jia Muzin did not directly interrupt him. He only coughed twice and indirectly reminded him. Xiao Sen, what's wrong? Is your throat uncomfortable? If you have a cold, remember to see a doctor as soon as possible. Don't belittle a cold or a cough. Back then, Uncle Yu relied on his youthful vigor and thought that it would be over after a while. In the end, when he was old, it left behind many chronic illnesses. Sigh. Yu Lingxuan sighed heavily as if he didn't understand Jia Muzin's intentions. Instead, he gave him a sincere lecture. I didn't mean it that way. Jia Muzin finally realized that Yu Lingxuan was simply stalling for time. He quickly said, Uncle Yu, you have already read this contract several times. If you have any problems, feel free to raise them. I can also make some adjustments and give in appropriately. Xiao Sen, one look and I can tell that you don't know how to do business. Yu Lingxuan looked at Jia Muzin with slight reproach and said patiently, look at what you are saying. Our Jia and Yu families have been working together for decades. How can I let you suffer losses? The most important thing in doing business is to be mutually beneficial. If you give in, I will suspect that you are giving me a defective product. It's all right. This is only a competition and not a real collaboration. As long as you agree to sign the contract, I won't lose anything by giving in. Jia Muzin felt a headache as he quickly explained. What you said isn't right. As a senior, how can I take advantage of a junior? Yu Lingxuan took off his spectacles and leisurely picked up the tea on the table to take a sip. He said plainly, also, who told you that this is just a competition? After this contract is signed, we must fulfill the terms written on it. There is no room for carelessness. Jia Muzin was shocked and couldn't react in time. He always thought that the negotiation and signing of the contract were just part of the competition. He didn't expect that it was all real. But, even so, Yu Lingxuan took a little too long, right? Although he had never negotiated a collaboration before, he had never heard of a 3-page contract taking half a day to read. Seeing that Jia Muzin was hesitating, Xiao Chen looked at Yu Lingxuan impatiently and said, even if you really want to fulfill the terms, you have already read it so many times. You should understand it, right? Tell us your conditions. If we can negotiate, we will sign the contract. If not, then we will talk about it. What are you waiting for? Just now, he overheard that Jia Tiao's side had already negotiated and got the highest interest contract. It was just that it was still early, so he didn't report it immediately. He was still sitting there chatting. On the other side, Jia Huiyan and a few collateral descendants were also progressing smoothly. It probably wouldn't take long for them to sign the contract. Little brother, as the saying goes, haste makes waste. After all, this contract involves the interests of both our families. I should at least take a look at it before I consider how to discuss with you, right? Yu Lingxuan still had the same unhurried attitude. He had been a steward for dozens of years and had cooperated with outsiders countless times. To him, dragging time and talking nonsense was just a common occurrence. But just when Jia Muzin was about to speak, Yu Lingxuan suddenly raised his head and looked at Xiao Chen. With an amiable face, he asked, "Oh yes, little brother, what's your name?" "My name is Xiao Chen." Xiao Chen replied coldly. He had long understood that this old thing obviously wanted to drag out the time and then find a random reason not to sign the contract. There was no problem with this contract. Moreover, Jia Muzin was willing to compromise. Normal people wouldn't reject it. Yu Lingxuan's attitude was obviously foreshadowing. Although Xiao Chen wanted to beat Yu Lingxuan up openly, this was the Jia family's territory. He couldn't be too arrogant. However, Xiao Chen wasn't in a hurry. He planned to quietly watch Yu Lingxuan act cool. Chapter 1026. Anyway, even if it dragged to the last moment, he had a way to make Yu Lingxuan sign what he should and what he shouldn't sign. Xiao Chen. That's a good name. I'm not afraid to say it as a joke, but this old man has read someone's fortune before and it's quite accurate. Xiao Chen, your name matches your looks. It looks like you'll definitely be successful in the future. That. Coincidentally, this old man knows the daughter of an old friend. Why don't I? Yu Lingxuan seemed to be a chatterbox as he blabbered on and on. Jia Muzin glanced at Xiao Chen, his eyes filled with helplessness. It was as if he was apologetic that Jia Muzin had been dragged into this. Xiao Chen shook his head in consolation, indicating that there was no need to worry. He had a solution. Just as the two of them were thinking of a way to interrupt Yu Lingxuan's nonsense, the Jia family servant served lunch. Oh. It's time to eat. Yu Lingxuan finally stopped talking when he saw the food. He called out to Xiao Chen, come, Xiao Chen, don't just stand there like a fool. Sit down and let's eat together. As for the contract, we can talk about it after eating." The corner of Xiao Chen's mouth twitched. He couldn't be bothered to mock Jia Muzin anymore. He sat down with a cold face and picked up their bowls together with Jia Muzin. They started wolfing down the food on the table. The two of them were obviously thinking the same thing. Neither of them intended to leave any for Yu Lingxuan. However, to their surprise, Yu Lingxuan didn't seem to mind at all. Instead, he took the opportunity to lecture Xiao Chen and Jia Muzin about how they shouldn't eat too fast and that young people should chew slowly. He even pointed at the two of them with his chopsticks from time to time. Then, he slowly ate his rice, ignoring the murderous gazes of the two people in front of him. After finishing the last grain of rice, Yu Lingxuan let out a long burp. He took out a box of toothpicks out of nowhere and took out a tobacco pipe. He picked his teeth and smoked as if there was no one else around him. He even looked like he was enjoying himself. Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered with him anymore and pretended not to see him. However, Jia Muzin almost exploded in anger. He was already pissed off by Yu Lingxuan's lecture. He didn't expect this old man to go even further. "Tell me, what kind of teeth did you pick out? Wasn't it just a bowl of white rice? How could it stuff his teeth?" This was 2F** King Unreal. Reporting, Grandpa. I have completed the contract and obtained the best benefits for the Jia family. Please take a look. Xiao Chen was watching Yu Lingxuan put on an act with a faint smile on his face. Suddenly, he heard Jia Tiao shout from a short distance away. His voice was especially loud and he couldn't hide his pride. It was as if he was a victor showing off his spoils of war, as if he was afraid that the people present couldn't hear him. Well done. You can go and have a rest. Let's wait for the others to finish their matches, then we'll give a unified score. Jia Jinyan nodded in satisfaction. In fact, he also knew that there was something fishy going on. Jia Yuto must have given him a warning beforehand. However, he did not expose him. After all, the result was the most important. As long as it could bring benefits to the family, any method was worth a try. Jia Tiao proudly stood up, cast a disdainful glance at the room where Jia Muzhen and Jia Huiyan were, then shook his head and walked to the armchair nearby, crossed his legs, closed his eyes and rested, waiting for the announcement of the final result. Not long after, Jia Shirlei and Jia Raijing also signed the contract. Although they didn't get the highest contract, they settled for the second best and successfully completed the negotiation in the second tier. They got 2 points. On the other side, Jia Huiyan didn't have it so smooth. Originally, with his eloquence, he got along well with Yu Lingxuan. However, when it came to the contract, Yu Lingxuan would inexplicably put forward some conditions that he couldn't accept. After arguing back and forth many times, they still couldn't reach an agreement. In desperation, Jia Huiyan could only choose to compromise with Yu Lingxuan and successfully sign the contract with the second tier. However, the points he could get dropped from the original 3 points to 2 points. His 2 subordinates were even more miserable. Whether it was Jia Kushu or Jia Shou, they were suppressed by Yu Lingxuan and didn't have any right to speak. In the end, they could only obediently sign the contract with the bottom line. They each got 1 point and handed over the contract resentfully. They sat on the side with a bitter face, waiting for the final punishment. Jia Huiyan, who was extremely depressed, knew clearly that Jia Yuto must have played a role in this. However, he didn't have any evidence, so he couldn't complain to his grandfather. In addition, looking at his grandfather's attitude yesterday, it seemed that he had tacitly agreed to the little tricks outside the competition. Even if he went to complain, the final result would probably be nothing. Jia Huiyan thought about it and could only choose to accept his fate. After a few hours, only Jia Muzhen and Jia Renzhong had not completed the contract. Yu Lingxuan kept on talking about all sorts of things, but he didn't mention the contract. Xiao Chen took the opportunity to eavesdrop on Jia Renzhong's situation. The situation wasn't optimistic either. The person he was negotiating with was extremely unyielding, not willing to give in even a single step. The contract in Jia Renzhong's hands was originally the simplest. According to reason, as long as they had a good chat, it wouldn't be impossible for them to sign the contract with the highest standard. However, the other party immediately rejected this plan and even raised many crafty, unreasonable and unimaginable demands. No matter how stupid Jia Renzhong was, he already understood that he had definitely been tricked by Jia Shou and Jia Raijing. He could be considered to be quick-witted, immediately giving up on the idea of getting 3 points. He only continuously fought for the possibility of getting 2 points. However, looking at the current situation, the other party at most only wanted to sign the contract with the bottom line. Otherwise, they would give up on the cooperation. There wasn't even any room for discussion. Xiao Sen. Feeling that the time was right, Yu Lingxuan finally started to cut to the chase. I feel that this contract doesn't seem to be very beneficial to the Yu clan. After all, the Yu clan had spent a lot of manpower and resources to obtain these 3 secret martial arts manuals that you want. Isn't a mere 100 pieces of spiritual jades a little too little? Let me give you a suggestion. If you can increase it to 200 pieces of spiritual jades, I can bear with the pain and part with them on account of our long years of cooperation. 200 pieces of spiritual jades? Jia Muzhen was stunned, his face was full of awkwardness. Uncle Yu, isn't this a little inappropriate? You see, our Jia clan only wants the handwritten copies of the secret martial arts manuals, not the original copies. Your price tag is too high. You can't say it like that. Think about it, these 200 pieces of spiritual jades can only allow 2 people to enter the revered realm. Moreover, the Yu clan will have to bear a huge risk. If these 2 people don't come out, wouldn't it be a huge loss? Yu Lingxuan shook his head and patiently guided him. Moreover, 200 pieces of spiritual jades to your Jia clan is just a drop in the ocean. You can just find a few workers to dig in the mines and you will have it. Why are you so calculative with me? Chapter 1027. But, $200 is too much. It's twice as much as I originally expected. Even if our Jia family has the heavenly jade mine, we can't dig that much in a day. Jia Musen frowned. He begged to differ with Yu Lingchuan. One had to know that the spirit jades that he had asked Jia Hongyong for in the previous match had taken nearly a week for the miners to dig out the superior spirit jades and then carve them to remove the impurities before they could take shape. Although the heavenly jade mine had sufficient reserves of spiritual jades were also divided into several grades. High-grade spiritual jades were not commonly dug out. Most of them were secondary-grade spiritual jades and waste jades. It was precisely because the amount of high-grade spiritual jades was too little that the number of people entering the venerable realm was so limited. The spiritual jades that Jia Tuyao snatched from Jia Huiyan in yesterday's match belonged to the secondary-grade spiritual jades. Hence, they were much lighter than high-grade spiritual jades. How about this? Little son, I won't beat around the bush. If you can only take out 100 pieces of spiritual jades, then I'll give you a handwritten secret manual and some high-grade spiritual herbs. We're talking about a fair cooperation. I can't let you suffer a loss, right? Yu Lingchuan slammed the table and said generously. Jia Musen was speechless. So many spiritual jades could only be exchanged for a handwritten secret manual. Furthermore, there weren't any heaven and earth treasures. It was only high-grade spiritual herbs. This Yu Lingchuan was too calculative. We are the dignified Jia family. Do we still lack those high-grade spiritual herbs? Uncle Yu, this is too little. How about? I don't want those high-grade spiritual herbs. How about you give me 2 secret manuals? Otherwise, 100 pieces of spiritual jades for a secret manual is not worth it. I won't be able to explain it to the old master. Jia Musen thought for a while and decided to fight for it. He wanted to see if he could get Yu Lingchuan to agree. Hee, I also know that you want to score points in the match. That's why it's difficult for you. However, I also have my difficulties. Yu Lingchuan smiled faintly, as though he had made an important decision. He rubbed his chin and said, in that case, let's understand each other. I will give you some natural treasures as compensation. I really cannot give you any more secret manuals. Otherwise, it will be hard for me to explain myself when I return. This. Jia Musen hesitated for a moment. He reckoned that this would be the only result if he continued to negotiate. Gritting his teeth, he was about to agree when Xiaochen suddenly said, Senior Yu, it's not that I want to say this, but for an illustrious venerable like you to haggle over every ounce with us juniors for such a small profit, isn't that a bit lacking in moral integrity? Yu Lingchuan laughed out loud when he heard that. He thought to himself, Xiaochen, you little brat. Weren't you acting cool with me just now? Why did he admit defeat now? Why don't you keep pretending? At that time, if I'm not happy, I won't even sign the contract. Let's see how you're going to report back then. However, after being flattered by Xiaochen, Yu Lingchuan was still very happy. He stroked his beard and said heartily, Nephew Xiaochen, you're flattering me. I'm only a martial king at the full circle. How could I have the honor of becoming a martial honored? Xiaochen's eyes flashed. He pretended to be surprised and asked, That's impossible, right? Senior Yu, you look so dignified with white hair and a youthful complexion. How could you only be a martial king? Don't be so humble. You can't say that. Yu Lingchuan was very happy and his nagging temper flared up again. You should know that the honorable realm is not a place that anyone can enter just because they want to. Aside from providing spiritual jades, the younger the person is, the higher the chance of success. For an old man like me, I don't have such extravagant hopes. You youngsters, on the other hand, have plenty of opportunities. So you're really a martial king at the full circle. That makes things much easier. Xiaochen laughed coldly. He turned around and ordered the Jia family's servants to bring him a piece of white paper. He then wrote a few lines on the paper. You. What do you mean? Yu Lingchuan was slightly stunned as he looked at Xiao Chen suspiciously. After Xiao Chen finished writing, he threw the white paper in front of Yu Lingchuan and laughed coldly. This is an additional contract. Aside from signing the highest contract with Jia Muzin, you must also agree to all the conditions in the additional contract. Yu Lingchuan could not understand these words. He subconsciously picked up the additional contract and took a look. Suddenly, he burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. I think you're crazy. It's written here. Not only will the Yu family provide 5 handwritten martial arts manuals, they will also need to provide the Jia family with 20 treasures at the price of 50 spiritual jades. Other than that, the Yu family will also need to provide 10 workers to the Jia family to help them mine. All the earnings from the mines will belong to the Jia family. Xiao Chen, are you serious? Are you sure you didn't write the contract backwards? Yu Lingchuan held back his laughter and pretended to be serious as he read out the additional contract. Of course it's true. I didn't write it backwards either. Xiao Chen was unmoved as he replied indifferently. Although Jia Muzin was a little surprised, he had absolute trust in Xiao Chen. Hence, he did not make a sound and watched quietly from the side. Nonsense. This is simply ridiculous. Xiao Chen, there must be something wrong with your brain. You should go see a doctor. Yu Lingchuan burst into laughter again. He laughed so hard that he could not catch his breath. He felt that Xiao Chen was a complete lunatic. He did not take his condition seriously at all. I think you're the one with a punctured brain. Can't you tell that I'm not discussing with you, but ordering you? Xiao Chen crossed his arms and looked down at Yu Lingchuan, enunciating each and every word clearly. What? You dare to threaten me? If I don't sign, can you still use force? Yu Lingchuan stared at Xiao Chen and retorted. Of course not. Old you really like to joke. This is a fair competition. How can I use force? Xiao Chen looked at him indifferently. Furthermore, you are an old cabbage. Even if I use force, there is no need for me to use it on you. Yu Lingchuan's smile disappeared. His face was filled with anger. He was very unhappy with Xiao Chen's sarcasm. He waved his hand and said, "All right, stop provoking me. How can I sign this kind of contract? If I want to sign it, I am an idiot. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Xiao Chen stared at him impatiently. He slammed the table and roared, "Sign!" Just as he said that, Yu Lingchuan's body suddenly trembled. He stood there blankly for a while. Then, he picked up the pen with a blank look in his eyes. He slowly bent down and signed his name on the 2 contracts with the highest benefits and the supplementary agreement. The contract originally had Jia Muzin's name on it. Now that Yu Lingchuan signed, it meant that both parties had signed the contract. The contract was established. Jia Muzin was stunned. He thought to himself that this old fellow was quite humorous. No wonder he said so many useless things. Eating rice and not being able to stuff one's teeth. It was to prove that there was something wrong with his IQ. He was indeed an idiot. Chapter 1028. After signing his name and putting down his pen, Yu Lingchuan picked up the contract. Without waiting for Jia Muzin to react, he walked towards Jia Jinyan's direction. Just as Jia Muzin was about to call out to him, he was suddenly pulled by Xiao Chen. When he turned around, he saw Xiao Chen giving him a look. He immediately understood that Xiao Chen must have helped him secretly. He could not help but nod at him gratefully. Xiao Chen smiled slightly and turned to chase after Yu Lingchuan. Jia Muzin hurriedly followed behind him and excitedly went to report to Jia Jinyan. Yo, isn't this steward you? Why did you personally send the contract over? These small errands, they can just let the younger generation do it for them. Jia Jinyan was a little surprised when he saw the figure walking over. Did this Yu Lingchuan eat the wrong medicine? Normally, he had always been tyrannical in the Yu clan. Other than the Yu clan master, he did not give face to anyone. He was also very strong when it came to external cooperation. He was especially good at dragging. He could even drag people to madness. Among the Jia clan's people, other than Jia Yudo, Yu Lingchuan did not even look at them. But today, he actually helped Jia Muzin to send the contract over. This really made Jia Jinyan's eyes pop out. Yu Lingchuan walked to the table and gave a simple nod before placing the contract on the table. Jia Jinyan lowered his head to take a look and saw that it was the highest standard contract. He happily praised, "Mu Sen, not bad. This contract was completed beautifully. Actually." Facing Jia Jinyan's praise, Jia Muzin was a little hesitant. He had won this competition a little mysteriously. He did not know whether he should accept it or not. "Actually, Clan Master, you still haven't noticed," Shao Chen interrupted and pointed to the additional contract at the back. He smiled and said, "Look, Senior, you not only signed the highest standard contract with Jia Muzin, he also agreed to some additional contracts. Please take a look." Additional contracts? Jia Jinyan was startled. He lowered his head and looked at the contract carefully. Only then did he realize that behind the original contract, there was an additional contract. On it were Jia Muzin and Yu Lingchuan's names. After reading through the details of the contract, Jia Jinyan sucked in a breath of cold air. His face was first filled with disbelief before it turned into ecstasy. He put down the contract and shook Yu Lingchuan's hand, thanking him from the bottom of his heart. "Manager Yu, you're too kind. I didn't expect you to agree to these additional conditions." This. Yu Lingchuan was slightly startled as he recovered his wits. His eyes regained their clarity as he looked at Jia Jinyan hesitantly. "What happened just now? Why is it that my brain seems to be out of control and I sign all the contracts as soon as I pick up the pen?" In the past, Caretaker Yu's attitude towards our Jia family was unclear. Now, it seems like it was all a test. "Look at you, if you have any misgivings, just say it frankly." Jia Jinyan patted Yu Lingchuan's shoulder heavily. His smile was like a blossoming flower. "However, through this contract, I can already feel the Yu clan's sincerity in cooperating with us. We will definitely consider the long-term cooperation with the Yu clan. Don't worry, since I am still the clan master, I will definitely do what I say. I will definitely not go back on my words. Otherwise, I will not have a good ending." That. Yu Lingchuan's face scrunched up. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Jia Jinyan had already said so much. Could it be that he had to go back on his words and become the person who would not have a good ending? Actually, it's nothing much. Our three great clans should help each other." Yu Lingchuan took a deep breath and finally squeezed out a sentence from his throat with difficulty. "Ha ha ha. Caretaker Yu is really straightforward." Jia Jinyan laughed and said seriously, "When the competition ends, don't be in a hurry to leave. I will treat you to a few drinks tonight. Firstly, it is to thank you for your recognition of Jia Muzin. Secondly, it is for the Jia and Yu clan to have a better cooperation in the future. I hope that Caretaker Yu will do me the honor. There will be many opportunities for us to interact in the future." As long as he thought about the resources that the Yu clan would provide the Jia clan every year, Jia Jinyan felt as if he had drunk a glass of ice water on a hot day. All right. Yu Lingchuan didn't know what to say. He could only nod his head and return to his seat with a puzzled look on his face. After sitting down in a daze, Yu Lingchuan tried his best to recall what had happened. However, he could only remember Shao Chen handing him a contract. After that, he was in a daze. Only after Jia Jinyan shook his hand and spoke to him did he realize what had happened. That's not right. What is going on? Could it be that I have a split personality? Yu Lingchuan frowned and thought hard. On the other side, Jia Jinyan looked at Jia Muzin with admiration. He patted his shoulder and said, "Mu Sen, you did well. Go and rest first. After the competition ends, I will announce the results." Thank you, grandfather." At this point, the contract was considered settled. Jia Muzin smiled, turned around and walked to his resting place. However, he felt conflicted. On one hand, he felt that Jia Jinyan, as his grandfather, was a bit snobbish. In the past, when he wasn't of much help to the clan, Jia Jinyan didn't care about him at all. Now that he had just improved a little, Jia Jinyan's attitude changed. It really made him feel bitterly disappointed. However, on the other hand, from the perspective of a rational clan head, Jia Jinyan's attitude was understandable. After all, the clan head prioritized the clan's benefits and looked at the big picture. If he was too emotional, how could the Jia clan become one of the top 3 clans in the martial arts world? It would be difficult for them to even survive. They might have already been swallowed up by other clans. Although he was conflicted, Jia Muzin had a strong point, which was that he was open-minded and optimistic. The conflicting emotions only existed for a while before disappearing like smoke. Jia Muzin then thought of the additional contract that was full of suspicious points. Seeing that there was no one nearby, Jia Muzin asked doubtfully, "Shao Chen, what kind of sorcery did you use just now? You actually made that old guy take the initiative to sign the contract. I thought that I would only get 1 point this time." "Hee, this is a secret. I can't tell you for the time being." Shao Chen smiled mysteriously. "Moreover, I already said that I would help you. How could I just watch you sign the lowest contract and ignore it?" In fact, the special ability of a cultivator was quite heaven-defying for ordinary cultivators. Moreover, it wasn't easy to explain. Therefore, Shao Chen didn't intend to say it and chose to deliberately mystify things. "Forget it if you don't want to say it. Anyway, I don't want to know. Isn't there a line in many movies, 'Knowing too much is not good for you'? Only a dead man can keep a secret." Jia Muzin shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently. Chapter 1029. Jia Muzin was already used to Shao Chen's endless abilities. Since Shao Chen didn't want to say it, he wouldn't force him. This was the basic trust he had for a good friend. "You don't have to say anything else. In short, I can only promise you that I will use 100 spiritual jades to exchange for 5 kinds of natural treasures. There's no need to talk about anything else. I'll go to the bathroom first." As the two were chatting, a low voice suddenly came from the cubicle beside them. The sound of a chair being dragged could be heard. The two of them turned their heads and saw a middle-aged man walking out from behind the screen where Jia Renjong was seated. He accidentally bumped into Jia Muzin's shoulder. Then, he glanced at Jia Muzin and left as if nothing had happened without apologizing. Jia Muzin didn't care too much about it. After the man left, he peeked through the screen and saw Jia Renjong sitting there in a daze. His expression was somewhat dejected. It seemed that the negotiation wasn't going well. Jia Muzin had also heard the middle-aged man's words. He felt that this guy's train of thought was a little strange. Jia Muzin was quite familiar with the cooperation method of exchanging spiritual jades for natural treasures. In the market, 100 spiritual jades could be exchanged for 10 kinds of top-grade natural treasures. Usually, people would beg the Jia family to exchange for them. After all, high-grade spiritual jades were very rare and most of them were in the Jia family. Although there weren't many top-grade natural treasures in stock, there was no comparison between the two. The reason was that the difference in value between the two was quite large. Although they were both consumables, compared to natural treasures, most sects and families were willing to choose high-grade spiritual jades. After all, 100 spiritual jades could be exchanged for a spot to enter the venerable secret realm. This was something that couldn't be exchanged for any amount of natural treasures. Although there was a chance of failure in upgrading, the more spots there were, the higher the chance of success, right? No matter which sect or family it was, they all hoped to have one more venerable under them. The more venerables a family had, the more authority they had. Therefore, the more spiritual jades they had, the better. However, from the tone of the middle-aged man just now, he didn't seem to care about spiritual jades at all. This was the key point that Jia Muzin was puzzled about. Although Jia Muzin could probably guess that there was something fishy going on, he felt that it had nothing to do with him, so he didn't plan on getting involved. Seeing that Jia Renjong was the only one left and had yet to finish, a few of the branch family members gathered over. Jia Kechu was the first to speak. Renjong, why are you taking so long? Don't tell me you still haven't come to an agreement? They couldn't even settle such a simple contract. What a waste of resources. If it were me, I would have signed the highest contract already. Exactly. I say, what's wrong with you? Don't tell me I can't even exchange for 10 heavenly treasures. The competition's deadline is almost here. Look, everyone has already finished. You're the only one left. If you still can't get it, it will be very embarrassing. Jia Shuluo said with a cheap smile. TSK. Don't make wild guesses. Perhaps the masses still have trump cards that they haven't used yet. Jia Shirley put on a fake smile and said, just like yesterday when we were digging for the spiritual jades, none of us got any points. Only he got lucky and got 1 point with 4 spiritual jades. He won because of luck. Don't be jealous. Sigh, Renjong. This contract of yours is so simple. If it can't be signed with the highest contract, then it will really disappoint the old family head and us brothers. You're so useless. Just give up on this competition. Using 100 spiritual jades to actually not be able to exchange for 10 heavenly treasures, our Jia family can't afford to lose this face. Jia Raijing patted Jia Renjong's shoulder and said with a sneer. I won't give up. I must get this contract done. Jia Renjong gripped the pen in his hand tightly. Although he felt very angry at the few people's ridicule, he still gritted his teeth and persevered. Persevering was persevering. Jia Renjong was indeed a little puzzled in his heart. Why were spiritual jades so worthless in his hands? Other people could use this to exchange for more benefits, but he could only exchange for a mere 5 heavenly treasures. What the hell was going on? Jia Renjong didn't know that before the competition started, Jia Yuto had already secretly stuffed a bag of spiritual jades into the middle-aged man's hands, so that he could only sign the contract with the lowest standard no matter what. That person accepted the spiritual jades and was naturally willing to help. Moreover, Jia Yuto had specially instructed him that after the matter was settled, there would be other rewards. Jia Yuto was originally their family's biggest partner. He was equivalent to a god of wealth. Of course, he wouldn't be stupid enough to not give the other party face. Ha ha ha. I really don't know where you get the courage from. Do you still think that you can continue to be so lucky? Jia Raijing ridiculed unscrupulously. The few collateral descendants couldn't help but burst into laughter. Their laughter was full of mockery. Everyone laughed a few times. Seeing that the middle-aged man had returned, Jia Kechu said to the others with an evil smile, let's go. Let's not hinder Jia Renjong here. Maybe he still has a special ultimate move. Later on, he will use it and easily win this competition. The other collateral descendants also heard the ambiguity in Jia Raijing's words. They revealed a broken chrysanthemum smile and winked at Jia Renjong. Then, they all exited the compartment. Why are you still standing there in a daze? It's time for you to show off. Why don't you hurry up and help? Seeing that the few silly collateral descendants had left, Xiao Chen hurriedly pushed Jia Muzhen, hinting him to go and help Jia Renjong. Who am I going to help? Jia Muzhen was really in a daze. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, he was stunned. He didn't understand Xiao Chen's intention and was still standing there in confusion. Why can't your blockhead understand? Xiao Chen said with an exasperated expression, this person is Jia Hongyong's nephew. Naturally, you will take him as your disciple. If you help him at the critical moment, when he successfully becomes an elder, there will be less resistance for you to become the family head in the future, right? Otherwise, you will be the family head alone. The other elders will be Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao's fools. How will you win? But, it's useless for me to go. Jia Muzhen finally understood. His stunned expression turned into helplessness. Even if I want to help, I don't have the ability. How can that middle-aged man listen to me? If it weren't for you, I'm afraid I would only be able to get 1 point. Jia Muzin also knew that he was alone. Although he had Xiao Chen's help, he couldn't help him for a lifetime. He had to take in a few trusted people. But then again, even if he wanted to cultivate trusted people, he felt that he didn't have the strength. The main reason was that there weren't many people in the Jia family who could listen to him. Previously, after he left, his sense of existence was even lower. What are you afraid of? Didn't you just say that you have me, the external help? You just have to go there and show off. Xiao Chen waved his hand and said lightly. Chapter 10:30. Jia Muzin scratched his head and said with a troubled expression, I've never done something like acting cool in my entire life. I'm usually quite low-key. What if I don't act well? Isn't it just acting cool? What's so difficult about it? In short, do it as high and mighty as you can. Have you read those web novels before? Learn from the protagonists in those books. They are all martial arts masters. As long as you show off your domineering aura, the other party will be scared to the point of peeing. Xiao Chen advised. Jia Muzin recalled for a long time, but he still couldn't figure out how to do this domineering aura. With a distressed expression, he was about to ask Xiao Chen again when he was suddenly pushed from behind, directly into Jia Renzhong's compartment. Go ahead, act however you like. I'll help you clean up the mess. Don't worry about anything else. Xiao Chen was too lazy to wait for Jia Muzin to understand, so he simply pushed him in. By the time he figured it out, Jia Renzhong's contract might have already been signed, and it would be too late. Jia Muzin was shocked. He originally wanted to decline, but he found that he was already standing in the compartment. Jia Renzhong and the middle-aged man turned their heads to look at him with a puzzled expression. Jia Muzin squeezed out a kind smile. Just as he was thinking about what to say, the middle-aged man opposite him spoke first. Who are you? What are you doing here? If there's nothing else, quickly leave. Don't hinder us from discussing serious matters. The middle-aged man looked Jia Muzin up and down. When he saw Jia Muzin's loser face, he thought that Jia Muzin was just a friend of Jia Renzhong's, so he waved his hand impolitely to dismiss him. Young Master Muzin, why are you here? Jia Renzhong was also a little surprised. He and Jia Muzin usually didn't interact much, so he didn't understand why Jia Muzin suddenly came here. Could it be that he was like Jia Inu and the others, deliberately coming over to mock him? Renzhong, how's the discussion going? Do you need me to help you coordinate? Since he was already here, Jia Muzin could only bite the bullet and continue pretending. He ignored the middle-aged man and turned to Jia Renzhong with a faint smile. There shouldn't be a problem. Jia Renzhong was obviously not confident enough. Although he did not know what Jia Muzin wanted to do, he still pointed at the middle-aged man and said, Let me introduce you. This is Elder Zhou of the Mysterious Traces sect. This is the Jia family's direct descendant, Jia Muzin. Young Master Muzin, we are almost done negotiating the contract. If you have something to do, why don't you wait until it's over? Don't waste my time. Before Jia Renzhong could finish, Elder Zhou cut him off impatiently. You better think about it carefully. Do you want to agree to my terms? It's getting dark, and I'm still waiting for dinner. If you feel that the conditions are not suitable, then we might as well cancel the contract. Jia Renzhong's face flushed red. Just as he was about to argue, Jia Muzin lightly pressed on his shoulder, signaling him not to be in a hurry to reply. Jia Muzin, on the other hand, sat down and recalled how Xiao Chen usually pretended to be cool. Only then did he cross his legs and say, Elder Zhou, right? I heard everything you said just now. You mean that you want to use 5 heaven and earth treasures to exchange for 100 pieces of high-grade spiritual jade from the Jia family? May I ask if you slept well last night? I slept very well. Jia Muzin's question changed so quickly that Elder Zhou could not react for a moment and answered subconsciously. Is that so? I think you didn't sleep very well. You're still daydreaming now. Jia Muzin sneered and mocked. Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you talk back to me? Only then did Elder Zhou react. He was instantly enraged and slammed the table. He glared and scolded, "If it wasn't for the Jia family's patriarch, I would have slapped you to death. Don't think that you're invincible just because you're a direct descendant. If you have nothing better to do, go away and stop messing around here." "Oh, you've got some guts. Haven't you heard of me, Jia Muzin, young Master Jia? Then why are you still negotiating the contract?" Jia Muzin had already gotten the hang of it. He retorted without showing any signs of weakness. How dare a trashy sect like the Mysterious Traces sect negotiate terms with the Jia family, one of the 3 major families? "Let me tell you, if you don't sign the contract today, I'll bring my men and raze the Mysterious Traces sect to the ground tomorrow." Jia Renzhong was sweating profusely. Was this Jia Muzin here to help him or to cause trouble? He had tried to negotiate with Jia Muzin in a friendly manner, but Jia Muzin had rejected him. Now, Jia Muzin had come to yell at him. Wasn't this pushing him into a pit of fire? "You!" Elder Zhou was so angry that his face turned purple. He pushed the table away and stood up. He glared at Jia Muzin and prepared to attack. "Elder Zhou, please calm down. Please don't attack. Let's talk this through." Jia Renzhong panicked. He hurriedly pounced forward, trying to stop Elder Zhou from making a move. Although Jia Muzin did not have much confidence, he remembered that he had Xiaochen backing him up. He persisted and sneered. "Let go of him. I want to see if he dares to attack me. Young Master Muzin, please don't say any more. No matter which side is injured, I won't be able to explain myself." Jia Renzhong was on the verge of tears. He wanted to stop Jia Muzin's provocation, but he also wanted to stop Elder Zhou from making a move. He did not know what to do. In the face of imminent peril, he decided to grab hold of Elder Zhou and protect Jia Muzin. However, just as his hand was about to grab hold of Elder Zhou's sleeve, he suddenly felt Elder Zhou's body tremble. Elder Zhou's body sank, and the sleeve he had just grabbed was instantly released. Jia Renzhong thought that Elder Zhou had fallen for no reason. He was shocked. When he looked closely, he realized that Elder Zhou was kneeling on the ground. "Young Master Muzin, you are a magnanimous person. Let's talk this out. Why do you have to resort to violence and harm our friendship?" Elder Zhou, who was kneeling on the ground, said respectfully to Jia Muzin. Jia Muzin was startled. He immediately realized that it was Xiao Chen's doing. He calmed himself down and continued speaking in a deep voice. "Don't talk to me about these useless things. Just say it. Are you going to sign the contract or not?" "I'll sign it. Right now. Right now. I'll sign it right now." Elder Zhou nodded his head in a flattering manner. He knelt there and searched for a pen on the table. Elder Zhou?" This sudden turn of events caused Jia Renzhong to be dumbfounded. He thought that Elder Zhou was being sarcastic, so he called out tentatively. "Renzhong, look at yourself. The future young master is speaking up for you. Why are you still being so courteous with me? I was too rude before. I'm sorry." Elder Zhou smiled so widely that his eyebrows could not be seen. He didn't care about anything else. He knelt on the ground and quickly signed his name on the contract. What was going on? Jia Renzhong was completely dumbfounded. How was Jia Muzin so awesome? The contract that he couldn't sign after negotiating for half a day was settled with just a few words from him. Chapter 1031. After Jia Renzhong's contract was handed in, the competition ended. Jia Jinyan carefully looked at all the contracts in his hand, and then filled in the scores of each person on the blank form. However, when he wrote down Jia Muzin's score, he lowered his head and pondered for a while, then added a few strokes at the end, and finally nodded with satisfaction. "Oh. Okay." Jia Renzhong returned to his senses and looked down at the signed contract in his hand. The complex emotions in his heart were indescribable. Shock, ecstasy, excitement, gratitude, and so on. However, he also knew that this was not the time to thank Jia Musen. He nodded his head, tightly grasped the contract, and hurriedly ran in the direction of Jia Jinyan. The other collateral descendants were also very unwilling to give up. They all stared at Jia Renjong, wishing that they could directly pounce on him and bite him to death. Is everyone here? Then let me first announce the scores of your contracts. Seeing that everyone was here, Jia Jinyan glanced at the audience and said in a deep voice, first, the direct descendants. Jia Huiyan gets 2 points, Jia Tiao gets 3 points, Jia Musen gets 3 points. Next, the collateral descendants. Jia Quinyu gets 1 point, Jia Shou Lu gets 1 point, Jia Shirlei gets 2 points, Jia Raijing gets 2 points, Jia Renjong gets 3 points. Tuyao, do you think that those who have made contributions to the family should not receive extra rewards? Jia Jinyan frowned, and his face darkened. Obviously, he was a little angry. All the contestants, gather here. Wait for the family head to announce the results of the competition. Uncle Gui, who was standing beside Jia Jinyan, received the signal from the family head and shouted to everyone loudly. This. Jia Tiao keenly felt his grandfather's anger. Looking at the additional contract on the table, he rolled his eyes and quibbled, Grandpa, I didn't mean that. It's just that when you made the rules this morning, you didn't say that additional contracts could get extra points. Otherwise, if I had known it in advance, would have signed the same contract, and the conditions would definitely be much better than Jia Musen's. Damn, what kind of dog shit luck does Jia Musen have? We have suppressed him so much, but he can still get 3 points. Jia Huiyan fiercely glared at Jia Musen and clenched his fist. His expression was one of anger. He never expected that he, the dignified young master of the Jia clan, would actually lose 2 matches in a row. This was simply a great humiliation. A few collateral disciples who were sitting not far away and waiting to watch a good show were also stunned when they saw this scene. They all knew that Jia Yuto had secretly bribed Elder Zhou. That was why they deliberately went to Jia Renjong's place to humiliate him, waiting to see him make a fool of himself. Seeing this, Jia Shirlei and Jia Raijing couldn't help but glance at each other, then simultaneously stood up, ran to Jia Tuyao and complained, Young Master Tuyao, Zhou sold us out. Jia Renjong will definitely get 3 points now. What should we do? In addition, Jia Musen signed a long-term contract with the clan for a small price of 50 pieces of spirit jades. While speaking, Jia Jinyan took out the additional contract, put it on the table, and showed it in front of everyone. The value of this contract is quite high. Therefore, I have decided, on the basis of the original 3 points, I will give Jia Musen an additional contribution point. Although Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao's voices were very low, Jia Jinyan still heard them clearly. He indifferently glanced at the two of them, not caring about their dissatisfied attitude. Instead, he cleared his throat and was about to announce another decision. He couldn't understand why Jia Musen could get the highest contract. Elder Zhou was unreliable, so be it. Why did even Yu Lingxuan fail? Are you all King kidding me? He was already extremely unhappy with the fact that he and Jia Musen had jointly obtained 3 points in this round. Now, an additional contract had been inexplicably created, giving Jia Musen an extra point for no reason. How could he agree to it? If Jia Tuyao didn't put the clan's interests first and only cared about the difference in the match, then Jia Jinyan felt that he didn't have the qualifications to be the clan leader. Because he didn't have the corresponding magnanimity. Turning around, he found that it was Jia Qingchu and Jia Raijing who were staring at him. Instantly, he felt ashamed and didn't know how to explain. How could he dare to wait for the meal? Hurriedly, he stood up and ran out of the Jia family's courtyard in a panic. What the F***ck? Jia Musen got 3 points? How is this possible? Jia Tiao blurted out in disbelief. What happened? What did I do just now? After handing over the contract, Elder Zhou also broke free from Xiao Chen's control. He woke up in a daze, his expression blank. When he recalled what he had done earlier, he could not help but feel confused. Forget it. I knew that guy was unreliable. Jia Tuyao waved his hand gloomily. It's okay. Now, I got 3 points for sure. The other people's points are definitely not as high as mine. As long as I win the next round against Jia Muzin, I will definitely take over the position of the clan leader. At that time, I will promote you guys to the position. However, unexpectedly, after a quarrel, Elder Zhou suddenly knelt down and signed the contract. What kind of trick is he playing? Did he just casually sign his name to fool Jiaranzhong? I object. As soon as Jia Jinyan finished his words, Jia Tuyao immediately jumped up and fiercely objected, disregarding his respect for the clan leader. However, when they turned around and saw the appreciative look in Jia Jinyan's eyes when Jiaranzhong handed over the contract, they knew that things were not as they had imagined. This guy surnamed Zhou had really sold them out. Regarding Elder Zhou's betrayal, Jia Tuyao didn't care too much. He thought that he had already won. When he became the clan leader, he would have the final say on the distribution of power, wouldn't he? It didn't matter who the elder was. Elder Zhou blinked his eyes. Before he could figure out what was going on, he suddenly felt that several resentful eyes were staring at him from not far away, as if there were thorns on his back. And it was signed according to the highest contract. Could it be that this was the real strength of Jia Muzin, who had always been low-key? Elder Zhou, your legs are numb, right? You've worked hard. There's nothing for you to do here. Go find a place to rest. Later, when the meal is ready, someone will inform you. Jia Muzin coldly glanced at Elder Zhou and didn't want to talk to him anymore. He turned around and went with Xiao Qin to wait for the result of the match. That's more like it. What were you doing earlier? Why did you make me unhappy and get scolded before you signed the contract? What a cheap wretch. Jia Muzin snorted, looked at the contract, and after confirming that there were no mistakes, he handed it to Jiaranzhong and said, "It's done. Hurry up and hand over the contract. If you delay any longer, the match will be over." Before long, all the direct descendants and collateral descendants gathered in front of the stage where Jia Jinyan was standing. Chapter 1032. Yeah. I also think that Jia Muzin is just taking advantage of the situation. If I had known that this kind of additional contract could add points, would have signed 3 or 5 of them, let alone 1. Jia Huiyan muttered unhappily. Although he didn't want to speak for Jia Tuyao, as the saying went, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. As long as he could make Jia Muzin suffer a loss, there was no harm in cooperating with him for the time being. Jia Jinyan stared blankly for a moment. He felt that what the two of them said made sense, and a look of hesitation appeared on his face. It was true that he had not taken the rules into consideration. If he had made the rules more detailed, he would not have caused so much trouble. Jia Muzin was immediately filled with anger when he heard the two people objecting to him. He clenched his fists tightly, but before Jia Jinyan said anything, he didn't dare to say anything. He could only remain silent with a livid face. You two idiots. Did you grow up imitating Big Wolf? Why are you so retarded? Xiao Qin rolled his eyes at them and said impatiently, don't you know that you have to be flexible when doing business? Do you think that everything has to be explained clearly in advance, and then you know how to carry it out? Then what's the use of you? Even an underground sweeper knows how to do it. Looking at Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao's dirty faces, Xiao Qin was angry. If it weren't for the fact that he had to consider Jia Muzin's feelings in the Jia family's territory, he would have already rushed over and beaten them up. This is the Jia family's business. Since when did an outsider like you have the right to butt in? Get out of my sight. Jia Tuyao was scolded for no reason. He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He didn't want to pretend to be a good person anymore, and directly shouted at Xiao Qin. That's right. You're just a foreign aide. You have no right to criticize the Jia family. I just gave you some face, and you really think you're somebody? Jia Huiyan echoed. Oh, according to your stupid logic, next time I see you killed by a car on the street, I don't need to call the Jia family to collect your bodies, right? Shao Chen crossed his arms in front of his chest, stared at Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao as if they were idiots, and sneered coldly. F***ck, you're courting death. Jia Tuyao's hair stood on end. He immediately waved his hand towards Bai Songyan and yelled furiously, Songyan, kill this suicidal thing right now. I will take responsibility for all the consequences. Jia Huiyan was similarly furious. He also gave Tang Yuanqing a look, indicating that he should rush over and cooperate with Bai Songyan to kill Shao Chen. All of you, stop. Just as Bai Songyan and Tang Yuanqing moved, Jia Jinyan slammed the table heavily and shouted. He instantly displayed the strength of a great perfection martial honor. His strong martial chi formed a pressure that surged toward the crowd. Feeling the immense pressure, Bai Songyan and Tang Yuanqing hurriedly stopped in their tracks. Their backs were drenched in cold sweat as they secretly exclaimed in their hearts, that was close. Fortunately, he did not act rashly. Otherwise, he would have been severely injured by the old master and might even have died under his palm. Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao were also startled. Their arrogance was instantly suppressed. All these years, they had never seen their grandpa so angry. The last time he was so angry was almost 10 years ago. On the other hand, Shao Chen did not move at all. His expression was very calm. Although the pressure released by Jia Jinyan also made it hard for him to breathe, Shao Chen did not show any fear. He still stood there calmly, for he did not want to be looked down upon. Jia Jinyan looked at Shao Chen coldly. He was slightly surprised in his heart. He slowly retracted the martial chi that he was releasing and warned him word by word, Shao Chen, seeing that you are a junior and the external help that Jia Muzan invited, I won't bicker with you. However, I still hope that you will behave yourself and do not insult the Jia family again. Otherwise, no matter what kind of background you have, I will not show you any mercy. Shao Chen indifferently shrugged, indicating that he had heard it. He did not intend to argue with Jia Jinyan. Firstly, he did not want to get Jia Muzan involved. Secondly, he did not want to provoke Jia Jinyan. If Jia Jinyan started a fight with him, he would have to flee for his life again. Moreover, this time, he would have to run with 4 girls. It would definitely be very troublesome. Jia Muzan's expression was very serious, while Jia Tuyao and Jia Huiyan were very happy. Seeing Shao Chen being humiliated, they were happier than anyone else. However, before they could be happy for long, Jia Jinyan turned around, glared at them and scolded, both of you, stop. During the family competition, everyone is staring at our Jia family. Do you really want to make a fool of yourself in front of everyone? The Jia family cannot afford to lose face like this. Jia Tuyao and Jia Huiyan's happy expression immediately froze on their faces. The corners of their mouths twitched stiffly, and they awkwardly lowered their heads. Seeing that both of them were speechless, Jia Jinyan no longer scolded them. Instead, he turned to the crowd and said loudly, I declare that in this competition, Jia Tuyao and Jia Muzan, the direct descendants, will each get 3 points for the head of the family, and the collateral descendants, Jia Renjong, will get 3 points for the elders. As for the rest of the people, they will each get 2 points or 1 point according to the standard of the contract. Does anyone else have any objection? After witnessing Jia Jinyan's strength, even those who had objections shut their mouths sensibly at this time. Seeing that no one had any objection, Jia Jinyan stood up and said in a deep voice, the third competition will start at 8:00 tomorrow morning in the Jia family's martial arts hall. Alright, go back and prepare. After saying that, Jia Jinyan put away the contract on the table, gave Shao Chen a meaningful glance, and then left the parlor with his trusted subordinates. Humph. Jia Huiyan and Jia Tiao snorted coldly, glared at Shao Chen and Jia Muzan, then left with their subordinates and collateral descendants. Shao Chen didn't care about their hostility at all. When he was about to leave with Jia Muzan, he suddenly heard Elder Heaven Ancestor's words in his mind, Humph, that Jia kid is really good at pretending. Obviously, his internal injuries haven't healed yet, but he still dared to forcibly release his warrior chi. Is he tired of living? Ah. Elder Heaven Ancestor, who did you say was injured? Xiao Chen was confused. It's that kid, Jia Jinyan. Can't you see it? Elder Heaven Ancestor asked back. Really? Xiao Chen was stunned. After thinking for a while, he really couldn't find any clues. I can't see it. I felt that he was quite good just now, there was nothing wrong with him. That's why I say that juniors like you are inexperienced. If he wasn't injured, with his martial honored realm strength, the pressure that he released would have already pressed all of you to the ground. Elder Heaven Ancestor sighed and analyzed methodically. Just now, I felt a faint fluctuation in his warrior chi. I think it's because his old injuries haven't healed yet, so he can't release his full strength. Chapter 1033. Maybe he just wanted to save everyone some face, so he didn't use his full strength? After all, a few of his grandsons were here, and there were also reinforcements from other clans. If he used too much strength, everyone would kneel on the ground like dumplings. Wouldn't that be inappropriate in front of everyone? Xiao Chen thought of another reason. Sigh, uncultured people are really scary. Let me explain to you. The Elder Heaven Ancestor patiently explained, when you're extremely angry and about to explode, do you feel like your mind is blank? Yes, there's a saying that goes, anger has gone to the head. Isn't that what it means? But what does this have to do with injuries? Xiao Chen was like a humble student asking for advice. You might not know this, but when humans are angry, not only will their minds be blank, the martial chi in their body will also be completely out of control for a few seconds. It's the same for cultivators and cultivators alike. The Elder Heaven Ancestor explained at length, if he wasn't injured, forget about making you kneel, he could even make you lie on the ground. The fact that you were able to hold on just now means that his current full strength is only at that level. It's obvious that his martial chi has been restricted by his internal injuries. The full circle martial honorable that he is displaying is just an empty shell. I see. I was wondering why I was completely fine just now. I thought that my body's resistance had increased after becoming a martial honorable. Xiao Chen finally understood and nodded his head. He then asked, then is his internal injury serious? He wouldn't die before the competition is over, would he? If that's the case, I can just use force to make Jia Musen the clan leader, right? You're dreaming. I think he'll be completely healed in a year or two. The Elder Heaven Ancestor replied casually. He then remembered something else and instructed, oh right, think of a way to get more spiritual jades. The yuan qi in your body is not enough to break through to the original infant stage. You need spiritual jades to level up. Holy shit, why didn't you say so earlier? Otherwise, I could have directly asked Jia Hongyong for them in the Tianyu mine that day. Xiao Chen immediately complained to the heavens. Where could he find spiritual jades in such a short time? He couldn't possibly steal from the Jia family's warehouse, could he? It would be terrible if he was discovered. You think I don't want to say it? In order to successfully break through in one go, I have already stored too much vital energy in your body. If you are not careful, you will easily go berserk and explode. Unfortunately, this vital energy is not enough for you to break through. I have to maintain the vital energy and calculate how many more spirit jades you need to advance. Do you think it is as easy as playing house? The Elder Heaven Ancestor retorted in a bad mood. Alright. I was wrong, alright? How many spirit jades do I need this time? I'll find a way to do it. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and shook his head. About 100 or so. That's it for the time being. If there is nothing important, don't look for me. If I am distracted, you will easily explode and die. The Elder Heaven Ancestor hurriedly dropped this sentence and did not reply again. Xiao Chen sighed helplessly. The last sentence of the Elder Heaven Ancestor made him break out in a cold sweat. Didn't this mean that he was carrying a bomb in his body? Moreover, he didn't know when it would explode. This was simply too deceptive. Oh no, it was a deceptive disciple. Moreover, where was he going to find so many spirit jades in such a short period of time? Looking for Jia Muzin was definitely out of the question. Xiao Chen also didn't want to involve him again. If he was caught again, it would be troublesome. After thinking about it, Xiao Chen felt that it was better to wait for Jia Muzin to stabilize his position as the successor. Then, he would find a way to ask him for some spirit jades. For the time being, he should not think about advancing. Young Master Mu Sen, thank you so much for what you did just now. As Xiao Chen was thinking, Jia Renzhong ran over and bowed to Jia Muzin. If it wasn't for your help in the negotiations, I definitely wouldn't have been able to achieve such a good result. We are all descendants of the Jia family. It is only right for me to help you. There is no need to be so polite. Jia Muzin waved his hand. He was a little embarrassed. In fact, it was Xiao Chen who had helped out earlier. It had nothing to do with him. Therefore, he felt ashamed to accept it. Young Master Mu Sen, if you need my help in the future, just say the word. I promise I won't let you down. Jia Renzhong was not an untactful person. He naturally understood the meaning behind Jia Muzin's help. He immediately made a solemn vow and promised. Hee, you can call me Jia Muzin or Mu Senator. Calling me young master sounds awkward. Jia Muzin naturally wouldn't refuse. He smiled and replied politely. How can that be? You are a direct descendant. I don't dare to break the rules. Jia Renzhong waved his hand. Jia Muzin didn't say anything else. He smiled and said, all right, you can go back and rest. There is still a competition tomorrow. You have to work hard and take the position of an elder. Jia Renzhong nodded and said with a silly smile, all right, then I will leave first. If you have any problems, come find me. See you tomorrow. Looking at Jia Renzhong's gradually disappearing figure, Xiao Chen patted Jia Muzin's shoulder and said, not bad, not bad. It seems that this little brother is determined to follow you. Next, it will depend on how you use him. Isn't that all thanks to you? Jia Muzin sighed and walked out side by side with Xiao Chen. We are brothers. There is no need to distinguish between us. Xiao Chen laughed and casually probed, that's right, just now your grandfather's aura was very strong. People who have reached his level, do they not have any illnesses? It should be. I don't think I have ever seen him sick or injured. Jia Muzin shook his head. Recalling the scene of his grandfather's anger just now, he still felt a little scared. He frowned and said, but Xiao Chen, you were a little rash just now. If my grandfather really attacked in anger, I reckon that both of us would suffer. I'm afraid that we might even implicate Qing Menjing and the others. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Seeing that he couldn't probe anything, Xiao Chen changed the topic, that's right. Tomorrow's competition is set in the martial arts field. It sounds like they are going to be serious. It should be a direct fight. If you are not sure, don't go. Let me deal with those two idiots. For tomorrow's competition, Xiao Chen was indeed cautious. Although he won the first two matches, it could only be regarded as a narrow victory. Jia Tuiyao and Jia Huiyan weren't completely good-for-nothing playboys, they both had their own schemes and plans. If he hadn't been one step ahead, he might have been tricked by them. Therefore, he didn't want Jia Muzin to have an accident in the last round. How can I do that? If I rely on your help in every match, won't I become a useless person? Jia Muzin shook his head and said, moreover, Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuiyao are not idiots. Now that I am in the lead, they will definitely not let go of this opportunity. They will definitely think of many ways to mess with me. Chapter 1034. Humph, with me here, they won't have the chance to show off. Xiao Chen said with a disdainful look. The two of them chatted as they walked. They had been busy the entire day and felt hungry, so they went to have dinner together. Then, they returned to Mu Sen's courtyard. Xiao Chen went back and chatted with the girls for a while. He described what had happened today and then entered a dual cultivation state. On the other side, Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao didn't sleep for the whole night. Once they returned to the yard, they called their father and other powerful helpers over, gathered in Jia Tuyao's room, and secretly discussed something. The door of the room was tightly closed for the whole night. It was not until an hour before the competition began that they hurriedly came out of the room. Fortunately, they were all warriors, so it wouldn't be a problem even if they didn't sleep all night. The Jia family's martial arts practice field was usually used for the Jia family's guards to train. In addition to patrolling and guarding, they would also come here to train with each other. As for the direct descendants and collateral descendants, they all had their own training places in their own residences, so they usually disdained to come here to train with the guards. Before 8:00 in the morning, the martial arts practice field was already crowded with onlookers. These people knew that the family's disciples would compete here today, so they all wanted to join in the fun. Some even wondered if they could learn one or two moves by the way. The direct descendants and collateral descendants also arrived at the martial arts practice field before 8:00, and stood in front of Jia Jinyan with the external experts, patiently waiting for the competition to begin. Now that everyone is here, I will announce the rules of the competition. Jia Jinyan sat on a high platform with a computer in front of him. He looked around at the people in the middle of the martial arts practice field and said in a deep voice, "Today's competition is divided into several parts, including the internal competition of the family and the external competition. The first part in the morning is the internal competition." After a short pause, Jia Jinyan continued, "The internal competition is divided into individual lot drawing competition and challenge competition. The first one is the individual lot drawing competition. The direct descendants and collateral descendants will fight together, and the winner will get 1 point, and the loser will not get any points. After the first round of competition, all the winners will be mixed together, and the lot drawing competition will be held again. The scoring system will remain the same, understand?" "Understood." Everyone below the stage shouted in unison. However, Jiaranzhong's voice was a bit shaky. His strength was not that great, so he was a bit afraid. If his luck was bad and he was matched against a direct descendant, then he could only admit defeat. Jia Jinyan nodded his head and said, "This competition is an individual competition within the family. Only direct descendants and collateral descendants are allowed to participate in the competition. Outsiders are not allowed to provide any help. Anyone who violates the rules will be disqualified." Jia Jinyan glanced around with dignity. He signaled his trusted aide to press a few keys, then stood up, pointed to the screen behind him and said loudly, "Next, we'll start drawing lots immediately. The drawing mechanism relies on the computer, and the results are completely random. The opponent will be displayed on the big screen. Now, you can start warming up." Everyone agreed and dispersed, each doing their own warm-up exercises. However, their eyes were all fixed on the big screen, and a few of them almost bumped into each other. The big screen soon showed the list of the first round's matchups. The first match was between Jiaranzhong and Jia Shouqi, the second was between Jia Tuyao and Jia Keqi, the third was between Jia Huiyan and Jia Raijing, and the fourth was between Jia Muzan and Jia Shirlei. Shao Chen looked at the big screen, then turned to Jia Muzan and said with a smile, "You and Jiaranzhong have good luck. The opponents you drew are all weak chickens. It seems that you don't need my help in the first round of competition." Actually, Jia Muzan's expression was quite helpless. "In fact, I'm not that powerful. The cultivation resources of my Jia family are all controlled by my two uncles, Jia Yuto and Jia Yubian. Since I was pushed out of the circle of direct descendants of the Jia family, even my cultivation resources have been greatly reduced. Therefore, although Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao have already reached the level of martial king, I'm still stuck at the level of general. So, those collateral descendants may be more powerful than you?" Shao Chen frowned. This situation was a bit out of his expectation. Originally, he did not want to use his mental power to control others too frequently, but it seemed that he had no choice but to use it. That's not necessarily true. Jia Muzan glanced at the few collateral descendants who had gathered together and said indifferently, "Before I left the Jia clan, it was more than enough to deal with those collateral descendants who came to find trouble. Even if they had more cultivation resources, they only had one more year of accumulation than me. I reckon that their strength would at most be on par with mine. Xiao Chen pondered for a while. When he was about to reply, he suddenly saw a middle-aged man jump onto the ring in the middle of the martial arts arena. It was Uncle Gui, Jia Jinyan's trusted follower. He was the referee appointed to arbitrate this competition. Uncle Gui glanced around and said loudly, "The first round of competition is about to begin. Participants Jia Renzhong and Jia Shoulei, please come onto the stage." The arena immediately quieted down. Everyone's eyes were focused on the two people. After hearing the instructions, Jia Shoulei did a beautiful somersault and jumped onto the ring. The guards who were watching from the outside saw that his appearance was very eye-catching and couldn't help but applaud. Jia Shoulei proudly cupped his hands towards the surrounding people, then gave Jia Renzhong a provocative look. Ha ha ha. Xiao Chen almost burst into tears from laughing. This joker, does he think he is performing on the streets? Is he going to say after the fight that those who have money will support the stage and those who don't have money will support the stage? On the other side, Jia Renzhong conformed to the rules. He seemed to be a little nervous as he carefully walked onto the ring. He subconsciously glanced at Jia Muzhen. Jia Muzhen nodded at him encouragingly. Jia Renzhong closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then, he walked towards Uncle Gui. Participants are in position. Both of you, please listen carefully. In this competition, no killing moves are allowed. As long as your opponent is knocked unconscious or knocked off the ring, you will win. If one party voluntarily admits defeat, then the other party is not allowed to attack without permission. Otherwise, you will be disqualified. Uncle Gui warned with a solemn expression. Jia Renzhong and Jia Shoulei nodded, indicating that they understood. Uncle Gui shouted, "Competition begins," and quickly retreated far away. The two of them took a stance and circulated their mental cultivation techniques. They revealed their strength and confronted each other. Impressively, they were both experts of the 9th layer of the martial general realm. Jia Shoulei was slightly startled. It was obvious that he was surprised that Jia Renzhong had the same strength as him. Therefore, he didn't rush to attack. Instead, he stood there and prepared to remain still. Ha! Jia Renzhong, on the other hand, was a little impatient. With a loud shout, he rushed towards Jia Shoulei and swung his palm towards his shoulder. Chapter 1035. Your posture is pretty good, but is that all you've got? Jia Shoulei sneered and dodged Jia Renzhong's attack easily. Jia Renzhong didn't hesitate and quickly turned around to kick Jia Shoulei's thigh. He was full of vigor, but his intention was too obvious and was easily dodged by Jia Shoulei. Jia Renzhong's next few attacks were casually dodged or resolved by Jia Shoulei. Jia Renzhong was impatient, so he messed up his tactics. He simply attacked randomly, but it was of no use at all. Sigh. This Jia Renzhong kid can't do it. Look at what he's aiming at. He's only aiming at unimportant parts. Furthermore, the more he fights, the messier it gets. While attacking, he's exposing a lot of openings. I reckon it won't be long before he's beaten to the ground. Xiao Chen could not help but sigh as he watched Jia Renzhong's clumsy way of attacking. That's normal. This kid usually works alone and trains by himself. It's probably because he doesn't have enough combat experience, so he doesn't dare to aim at the vital parts like the chest and head. Jia Muzhen guessed the reason behind it. Otherwise, if he's too heavy-handed and kills his opponent, it won't be worth it to be disqualified. What's there to be afraid of? Xiao Chen shrugged and said without a care in the world, if I really beat him to death, I'll just control the dead man again. He can still talk and walk, so he definitely won't be disqualified. Then, I'll let him perform a XX flight and commit suicide in front of everyone. Easy for you to say. Jia Muzhen quietly said, if that person's chest has a big hole, or his head is blown off, it's useless even if you control him. Don't tell me you're shooting a zombie movie with special effects? Xiao Chen touched his nose and was speechless. What Jia Muzhen said made sense. He had never encountered such a situation before, so he wasn't sure if a dead person could be controlled. Bang! Xiao Chen wanted to continue teasing Jia Muzhen, but suddenly, a muffled sound came from the stage. The Jia people had been attacking for a long time without any success. Their mood was slightly anxious and they were a little careless. Jia Shou took advantage of their weakness and sent them flying with a kick. When Xiao Chen and Jia Muzhen turned their heads to look, they just happened to see Jia Shou grabbing Jia Renzhong and heavily striking his lower abdomen a few times. Then, with a swing of his hand, Jia Renzhong directly fell to the ground. Jia Renzhong's face turned green and he grimaced in pain. Both of his hands clutched his lower abdomen, unable to catch his breath for a long time. You're really too useless. I just casually hit you a few times, and you're lying there like a dead dog. There's really no sense of accomplishment in dealing with a rookie like you. You'd better admit defeat quickly. Don't waste everyone's time, we're all very busy. Jia Shou Luo swaggered over and stood in front of the Jia people. He looked down at them and sneered. Cough cough. I can still fight. Jia Renzhong said with difficulty. He clenched his teeth and tried to stand up. Although his internal organs were in pain as if they were being torn apart, he was very unwilling and didn't want to admit defeat. Furthermore, he had just acknowledged Jia Muzhen as his boss. Now, Jia Muzhen was watching from below the stage. If he suffered a miserable defeat in the first match and left the stage with his tail between his legs without a single point, then his boss would definitely be disappointed in him. TSK, what a cheap life. Since you're so stubborn, then I'll fulfill your wish. Jia Shou Luo was very disdainful of Jia Renzhong's final struggle. He smiled contemptuously and lifted his leg to kick him. He planned to directly knock him out or kick him off the stage. Bang! Ah! Jia Renzhong had no ability to resist. After being kicked by Jia Shou Luo, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. With a blood-curdling scream, his entire body flew out. Just as he was about to fly out of the stage, he didn't know if it was a subconscious reaction, but he suddenly extended his right hand and grabbed onto a protrusion at the edge of the stage. He managed to stabilize his body at the edge of the stage and didn't fall off. Yo, your luck isn't bad. You actually didn't fall off? Jia Shou Luo was a little surprised. His strength should have been enough to send him flying. Under his astonishment, he walked over to take a look. He discovered that Jia Renzhong had grabbed onto the position of the stage. It just so happened that there was a point of strength. No wonder he could still hold on. Jia Shou Luo sneered. He lifted his leg and ruthlessly stepped on his right hand. He said impatiently, "Hurry up and get off. What's the point of shamelessly dragging on? Are you a mangy dog?" Hiss, as the saying goes, the 10 fingers are linked to the heart. At this moment, a piercing pain came from his right hand. Jia Renzhong couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The corner of his mouth twitched a little, but he still didn't have any intention of letting go. He still silently clenched his teeth and persisted. Seeing this scene, Jia Muzhen was so angry that his entire body was trembling. He couldn't help but rush to the edge of the stage and yell, "Jia Shou Luo! Aren't you going too far? We are all children of the Jia family. Is there a need to be so extreme? Yo, our young master Muzhen is distressed. Actually, I didn't want to do this. But who knew that this brat's donkey's temper was so stubborn? Why don't you let him take the initiative to admit defeat? That way, he won't have to suffer any more physical pain." Jia Shou Luo didn't take Jia Muzhen seriously. He had an evil smile on his face. "Uncle Gui, don't tell me that as the referee, you don't care? Jia Shou Luo is clearly breaking the rules." Jia Muzhen was furious, but he couldn't do anything to Jia Shou Luo. He could only clench his fist and turn his head to shout at the nearby Uncle Gui. Young Master Musen, I have already explained the rules very clearly. Jia Shou Luo didn't break the rules. Therefore, I have no right to interfere with him. Uncle Gui remained unmoved and indifferently replied. Musen, I think you shouldn't meddle in other people's business. You should think more about your own situation. Jia Huiyan sat on the stage and mocked in a lukewarm tone. That's right. Uncle Gui has been by Grandpa's side for so long. Do you think he needs you to teach him how to do things? Stop messing around, just go somewhere cool. Sitting on the other side of the stand, Jia Tiao taunted Ji Hao with a sarcastic tone as well. Ah. Jia Musen's heart was extremely cold towards this group of scum who disregarded their family ties. Just as he was about to open his mouth to refute, another scream came from Jia Renjong on the stage. His arm was once again ruthlessly kicked by Jia Shou Luo. It seemed that his arm had already been fractured. He hung limply on the stage and seemed to be on the verge of collapse. Renjong, why don't you give up? If you continue like this, your right arm will be crippled. Jia Musen couldn't bear to do this. He also knew that Jia Renjong valued this opportunity very much. He wanted to climb up through the cracks, but the price he had to pay was too high. Young Master Musen, I can still hold on. You don't have to. Ah. Before Jia Renjong's voice faded away, he was once again heavily kicked by Jia Shou Luo. His right arm finally powerlessly drooped down. His body lost its support and quickly slid down the stage. Chapter 1036. Ha ha ha. If you fell down earlier, you wouldn't have to suffer so much. I really didn't know you. Hey. What? Jia Shou crossed his arms as he watched Jia Renjong fall off the stage. Just as he was spouting nonsense with a face full of pride, he suddenly felt a pulling force from his feet, forcefully dragging him down. What everyone did not expect was that unknowingly, Jia Shou Jin's right leg had actually been firmly grabbed by Jia Renjong's left hand. Just now, his thoughts were wandering and he was caught off guard, which was why his entire person was brought down the stage. Bang bang. The sound of two heavy objects landing on the ground could be heard. Jia Renjong and Jia Shou both fell to the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise. The two of them didn't get up for a long time. Jia Renjong was injured, so he didn't immediately stand up. Jia Shou was in a daze from the fall and couldn't react for a moment. After being stunned for a while, Jia Shou regained his senses. He immediately flew into a rage, stood up and roared, F***ck, you still want to drag someone down with you when you're about to die, right? See if I don't kill you. As he roared, Jia Shou rushed towards Jia Renjong. However, before he could reach him, he was stopped by Jia Musen. Is that enough? This isn't a competition. If you dare to take another step forward, don't blame me for being impolite. Jia Musen glared at Jia Renjong and stood in front of him. Since Jia Renjong had become his underling, then he should act like a big brother. Just now, it wasn't convenient to make a move during the competition. If he allowed Jia Shou to show off now, then he would be a coward. Humph. Don't be too proud. I want to see how long you can protect him. Jia Shou paused for a moment. He didn't plan to clash with Jia Musen for the time being, so he casually threw out some harsh words. With a flip, he jumped back onto the stage. Jia Shou respectfully said to Uncle Gui, Uncle Gui, did you see it just now? It was Jia Renjong, that kid, who fell down first and then pulled me off the stage. Therefore, I am the winner of this competition. This. Uncle Gui hesitated. To be honest, he didn't see it too clearly just now, so it wasn't easy to make a judgment immediately. He had to ask for Jia Jinyan's opinion. Jia Jinyan also did not immediately come to a conclusion. Instead, he discussed it with his trusted aide for a while. Then, the two of them operated the computer and played the fight between the two of them. They stared at the screen for a few minutes, replaying the fight at a certain time. It seemed that they were meticulously proofreading a certain detail. Jia Shouxing, who was anxiously waiting below the stage, was a little anxious. He didn't know why they were still discussing for so long. He was obviously the winner of that round just now. This old master must have gone senile. On the other hand, Jia Muzhen and Xiao Chen did not care about this. The two of them carefully carried Jia Renzhong to the side for treatment. Fortunately, Jia Renzhong's injuries were not too serious. It was just that the bones in his right hand were slightly dislocated. Other than that, there were no other major problems. As long as he received proper treatment, it would not take long for him to fully recover. I announce. After a while, Jia Jinyan and his cronies finally confirmed the final result, stood up and shouted. When everyone's gazes gathered on him, Jia Jinyan cleared his throat and announced the result that made everyone's jaw drop. The winner of the first round is Jia Renzhong. Ha. Ah. What? Jia Shoxing, who was about to cheer for his victory, swallowed back his words and stood dumbfounded on the spot. He thought that there was something wrong with his ears. When he turned his head and saw that everyone else also had a surprised look on their faces, he realized that he really did not mishear it. Immediately, he angrily stomped his feet and said, "This is impossible. The winner is obviously me. How could it be that Jia Renzhong kid? I don't accept this. I object." Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao looked at each other from afar. They also felt very surprised. However, as juniors, they were also not contestants who had experienced the same situation. Therefore, they did not dare to open their mouths to refute. They could only think that their grandpa must have his own reasons for saying this. After all, their grandpa had always been very fair. He would not deliberately cheat for the sake of favoring someone. When Jia Muzhen, who was on the other side, heard this, he was also confused. However, Xiao Chen had a very calm look on his face. Just now, although Jia Shoxing and Jia Renzhong seemed to have landed at the same time, he could see the subtle difference. Jia Renzhong used a lot of strength to pull Jia Shoxing. Therefore, Jia Shoxing's acceleration was faster than Jia Renzhong's, causing him to land before Jia Renzhong. It was probably because of this that the old patriarch decided that Jia Renzhong was the winner. Sure enough, Jia Jinyan unhurriedly opened his mouth and said, "Although you were pulled off the stage by Jia Renzhong, according to the computer's analysis, your landing time was 0.1 seconds faster than his. Because you landed first, this round is your loss. The video and the data will soon be displayed on the big screen. If you have any questions, you can watch it yourself." After Jia Jinyan finished his explanation, he nodded to his trusted aide beside him. His trusted aide got the signal and immediately pressed a few buttons on the computer. Very quickly, the big screen played a slow-motion replay of Jia Renzhong and Jia Shoxing falling off the stage. Moreover, it froze the moment when the two of them landed. Just like what Jia Jinyan said before, the video showed that Jia Shoxing landed first, followed by Jia Renzhong. Jia Shoxing was completely speechless. He wanted to defend himself, but he didn't know where to start. He didn't expect that he would lose in such a bizarre way. It was really hard to accept. Wasn't this King scam? Renzhong, well done. I didn't expect that you, who look like a simple and honest person, would secretly make a dirty move. Jia Muzhen patted Jia Renzhong's shoulder and joked with a smile. Hiss, Jia Renzhong was patted on the wound and felt a heart-wrenching pain. His face twisted as he said, Young Master Sun, I just didn't want to lose your face." Jia Muzhen came to his senses and hurriedly retracted his hand in embarrassment. He changed the topic and said earnestly, "But what you did was a little risky. If you landed before him, then wouldn't your previous perseverance be in vain? Don't do stupid things next time." Jia Renzhong nodded and gritted his teeth. "I know. Don't worry, young Master Mu's son. Next time, I will use my brain to think before I act." Speaking of which, Xiao Chen interrupted with slight surprise, "I really couldn't tell that this martial arts arena is quite high-tech. There are actually so many hidden cameras installed." If it wasn't for the replay of the video on the big screen, I really wouldn't have noticed the positions of these cameras. After watching the video, Xiaochun released his divine sense and confirmed the positions of all the cameras in the arena. He discovered that there were actually more than 20 cameras in the entire martial arts arena. He couldn't help but be surprised. Actually, these cameras aren't really used normally. It's only when there's a competition or sparring that they would all be turned on. If it's for normal monitoring, there would only be 2 or 3 of them. Jia Musen explained, "You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."